Hello, so creative, it's Faustina here. Welcome to another interesting tutorial. On today's tutorial, we are going to learn how to sew this dartless transparent plunging corset. I've already uploaded the drafting part, and if you have watched the drafting part, you can as well watch the sewing part. But if you have not, I will add it as an end screen, or I will add the link on the description box so that you can go and watch the drafting part. You see how beautiful the outcome of our corset is. It's very beautiful and fine. So let's move over to the materials that we are going to use in making of this corset. This is my satin. I'm working with satin. Our regilin boning. We will also be working with plastic boning and our mesh. When I call mesh, I meant very original corset mesh. Don't just buy any net that you see in the market. Always observe one side of the mesh draw while the other side is stiff, doesn't draw. So that place that is drawing is the place that we are going to be cutting all our body circumference, and while the place that doesn't draw is the length of our corset. So I've gone ahead to cut out all our patterns, adding half an inch all the necessary parts apart from the side, because we are already using a drawing material. And I went ahead to cut out 6 pieces each. The front is 6 pieces while the two backs are 6 pieces. So we now start joining all our patterns on the side. So by the side, we are going to just pin it and sew half an inch all the way through, and the place we are sewing it is the place that we are going to be using as our front, while the place that is fine will be the back. So I've gone ahead to sew it. As you can see, I'm trying to remove the pins, and I'm going to trim out the excesses because we are going to run a boning channel through that, or through our side. So I've gone ahead to mark out all our boning channel like so, and we are moving ahead to start ironing our boning. It's good to first iron your boning before you encase it, to give it a very relaxing effect. Your bone will not be going up and down. When you relax your bone and sew, it will be very easy to sew. So I also gone ahead to mark out 1.5 inch long strip that we are going to be using as our boning encasing. And I also went ahead to iron hairstay on the fabric, black hairstay on the fabric. As I'm sewing, you observe that I added hairstay on it. So let's start encasing our boning. So firstly, you measure out the length of the boning that you are going to use to sew a particular boning channel, and you go ahead to input your bone in between the material, the satin, and you start sewing it. Don't sew on the bone, you are just sewing very close to the bone. You will be using your finger to feel the bone, sew very close to the bone. So after laying it on the line that you drew, you will now start sewing it very close to the bone. And after sewing it, you are going to trim off the excesses. After trimming it off, you will now turn it to the other side and complete your sewing. So I'm basically trimming off my excesses. As you can see, I'm trimming it off. After trimming it up, I'm going to now lay it flat and sew the other side. After sewing the other side, you're also going to top stitch to the side that we first sewn. I'm going to top stitch on it. So I'm using another one to give us an illustration. I'm trying to sew the other side, and after sewing this side, I'm going to go back and top stitch the one that we have already sewn. I will top stitch it. So So after top stitching it, this is the method that we are going to be using to encase all our boning channel that we drew. Also note that drawing of boning channel is as preferred. You can give it any design that you want. So after encasing all our boning, it will remain the middle part that has the V. I will now show you how you will cover up the V. Very neat. I'll just go ahead and encase all other parts apart from the middle part. So let's start working on the middle part. I've gone ahead to encase all our boning channel, remaining the middle part. Firstly, you are going to, by the one V, you are going to form a short V using your boning channel. At that point, you will come, at that V point, you come down by half an inch so that your boning channel will enter very well, because the other V is going to overlap it and run down to the hem of our corset. So the other V will not have cut. It's only one V that will have a short cut. So I'm trying to place my corset bone. I'm trying to measure out my bone on the V that I'm about to sew, and I went ahead to put it in between our satin, and I lay it very close to the V, and I started sewing it like we did earlier. You use your finger and feel the bone. Don't sew on the bone, just sew close to the bone. After reaching to the place that you mark, you trim out the excesses and flip it to the other side as well, like we did to the other side. Just trim it off and you now flip it to the other side, and you now top stitch it. Working with mesh is a very delicate something. It's not something that you just be rushing and sew. It took me like 3 days to finish up this particular project. So you have to exercise patience and take your time while sewing this particular project. You can as well finish with a day or 6 hours or 24 hours. Is left for you, but you have to exercise patience and work it diligently so that you have a very neat outcome. So the other side will not have any cutting. It will run through from the V, overlap on the short one, and down to the hem side of our corset to give it a very neat finish. So I'm trying to sew it. I've overlapped. When you hit that other V, you make sure you overlap it by covering the other already sewn one very well, and you now sew down to the hem of your corset like so. So after sewing it, you are going to trim out the excesses and flip to the other side, and also top stitch. You top stitch it. So this is the outcome of our boning. We have sewn everything, and now we are going to apply double boning techniques on this our mesh to give it that firmness, like that strength. Yes, you know that is a mesh, so you have to give it that strong or strength. So we are making use of our plastic boning. So on our bust side, or all the places that we are going to cover, I came up by half an inch, and from our bust side I came down by half an inch, because needle don pierce the plastic boning. So everywhere that you are going to be running stitches on, you will avoid the plastic boning going through that particular place, because needle don pierce it. So this is how you insert your plastic boning all through, by removing it half an inch, coming down by 1/2 inch from the bust because we are going to add bust at that particular. So I've gone ahead to insert all our bonings. Note that I did not insert the middle part because our plunging net will run through that V. So let's start ironing it flat. So I went ahead to lay another satin on top of our mesh and start ironing it. Don't iron direct on your mesh to avoid burning your mesh. So you have to lay another fabric on top. So now let's engage our cup side. This tutorial is already getting longer, so I know that the caging is not well detailed. In case you need a well detailed caging bust, you can comment on the comment section and I will do another different tutorial on how to engage our bust. So this I'm trying to engage the bust using our boning like so, as you can see me doing. But on our main fabric I added wording. I added a wording on our main fabric, and after encasing this our cup, after caging the cup, I'm going to flesh it out with our hairstay. I will add 4 layers of hairstay in order to flesh it. Notice the lining cup that I'm engaging is the lining part that I'm engaging. So the engaging will serve as our lining. So I've gone ahead to engage it, and I also gone ahead to turn our main cup with the lining part. By measuring out the cup area, that cup area you're going to measure it out, and you also measure it out on your cup, and the rest part you are going to now turn it up with your lining. Like the over bust side, you are going to turn it with your lining. So after turning it, you now start sewing from your lining part. You first sew from your lining part. So the back of your corset, you start from the back of your corset. That means the wrong side of the cup will be facing the right side of our corset, while the back will now be very neat. So you start sewing from the back, making the wrong side to face the right side of our corset. After sewing the cup lining, we now use our main cup and now top stitch on top of it. So this part is a very delicate part. You have to take your time, don't rush, take your time and sew it. So I finished sewing it. As you can see the back is very fine, while the front has all the rough area. So we are now going to push in the rough side and use our main cup and top stitch on top of it. As you see, I'm trying to use our cup and cover it up, and I'm also going ahead to top stitch it. I've gone ahead to top stitch it. You see how beautiful our cup is. So this is how we are going to also use and sew the other cup. See how beautiful our cup is? That is how you sew it. So we have gone ahead to sew the both cup. You see how beautiful our corset is coming out? It's coming out very beautiful. So see, this is our cup and this is our yoke. So we now start working on our yoke. So on the yoke part, you see the back of our corset, you see how deep our caging is. So this is how yours should be. So now yoke, we don't want any stitch at the shoulder part. I don't want any stitch at the shoulder part. As you can see on the video, there was no stitch on the shoulder part. So you are just basically going to tape the shoulder parts down. You are going to tape the back and the front. I went ahead to fold our mesh by 4 because we are going to be having 2 inches each, which will serve as the lining. So after taping your yoke at the shoulder, you are going to lay the center front at that folded part. you are going to lay it your center front there. Your center front will be cut on fold while the rest parts will not be cut on fold. The center back will not be cut on fold. So I'm just adding half inch all the necessary parts that needs allowance at the neckline, at the place our button will run, and at our armhole. So after cutting out your yoke, you are now going to open it up and sew and start sewing it. So I'm trying to remove our pattern, and open it up. You are going to sew half an inch all the way from our button to our neck. You are going to sew half an inch. So I'm trying to show you that come after folding it. See, you notice that the shoulder does not have any joining, so it's very flat. So this is how flat the yoke will lay on your body. So I'm going to sew half an inch from the place where my button will run to my neck, and at the down side of the back I'm going to sew like 1.5 inches inside. So let's start working on the place our eyelet will run. As you can see, I've sewn the one side of it, so I will now show you how to sew the other side. Note that the place that our eyelet will run, we went ahead to cut out the main fabric and the lining. So it has a lining and the main fabric. On the lining part, you are going to sew your boning channel there and use your lining to turn up your main fabric. I am first going to sew your lining part. Join your lining part to the corset. After joining your lining part to the corset, so I'm trying to join the lining part to the corset. You are going to use your main fabric to top stitch on it. So after sewing the lining part, you are first going to sew the lining part, and all the wrong parts will be facing the right part of your corset, like we did earlier in our cup side. So after sewing the lining part, you see the back is very neat. So the wrong parts now, your main fabric, you will fold it in and use it to top stitch the rough area that we have. So this is basically how you're going to do it, and that's plain place is where your eyelet will run through. And the shoulder side are also, the bust side, sorry, we are also going to turn it up. The bust side of our back, we are going to turn it up by using 1.5 inch long strip. So at the armhole side, I folded it in and I started sewing from the back. So after sewing from the back, you now flip it to the front, and at the end part I also went ahead to fold it in order to have a neat finishing after sewing. At the right part, I'm going to fold it in and top stitch on it. Like in the case of piping, it's like you are piping something, and this is the method we are going to use to pipe the hem side of our corset. Exactly this method, you sew from the back. After sewing, you flip on the front and start top stitching. So after stop stitching this part, we are going to insert our plastic boning inside to give it firmness, so that when it lays on our body it will be very firm. So I'm trying to insert. So you see the outcome of our corset. You see how beautiful it came out to be. So I went ahead to iron all the necessary parts that needs to be ironed, and at the hem side I went ahead to pipe it. See how beautiful our corset is looking, very beautiful. And if you followed all my step, yours will also come out this beautiful. So let's start working on our yoke part. So I've gone ahead to turn up our yoke by sewing half an inch to all the parts that I mentioned earlier. and I will start sewing the back from the armhole side. So I'm going to pin it down on that place that we turn up. I'm going to pin it down and sew from the armpit because we are going to have like excess, one and a half inch excess at that eyelet side. So remember, we remove that our eyelet opening by 1.5, so we are going to have extra 1.5 at the back net. So you sew from your armpit side. So I'm just pinning it down. After pinning down, I'm going to our sewing machine to sew it down. And after sewing the back down, we start sewing the V side. So I've gone ahead to sew it. This is the outcome of it. You see how beautiful our back net is laying. We now start working on our V part. Just pin it down. From the V, you pin it all the way to your cup side. So this is the end of our tutorial. If you have watched to this point, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also invite your friends. Bye.